Hey everybody, Tim here again from Cigar City Garage. This trip I'm going to talk about front suspensions, front straight axles specifically, and some of the things I've learned in these cars. And you know, is it all perfect? Maybe not, but I mean, they stopped running straight axles a long time ago for a reason. You know, all we're trying to do is make them work the best we can in these heaps. And I'm going to show you a couple things that I've learned through the couple minutes of experience I've got on these things. So here we go. I'll get started and talk a little bit, and hopefully I don't ramble too aimlessly. By the way, happy Thanksgiving. Here we go. Okay, this is the front end from the Henry J. It rolls pretty much ready for tin work, wheel tubs and tin work. And you know, you have to pardon me for having the front end on it and everything else. I wanted to get it all mounted, waiting on a radiator yet, but I wanted to talk about some of the things that I do. And part of the reason I do it is because it just makes it simple. You'll notice in the front, I typically put my shackles in the front. That's because if you use like a Corvair box and side steering, it wants to push the shackle forwards and backwards when you turn the car, and it'll move the wheelbase of the car. This one has cross steering, you know, Vegas style box, which I'll show you some of the things on that. But I use the Speedway spring kits. It's like a 28-inch spring. I use their bolts and their perches. I make my own axles. I like a heavier wall axle, 2-inch diameter. 1/4-inch wall axle works pretty good. You know, you have to deal with what you can get. WAC makes some really nice axles. You know, I've heard of guys bending the Speedway stuff, but you pop giant wheelies, you're going to bend about anything. So this uses the early Ford spindles that we buy aftermarket. You can see them. The brake kit's not on it yet because it's not finished. The leaf springs, I told you I get those are 28 inches from Speedway, like their gasser springs. Typically with these type of cars, you'll end up taking a leaf or two out of them to make them work right. These things are trailer springs basically, I believe, and they're stiffer than all get out. Even though this car has a big block in it, I guarantee it's probably going to at least need the little leaf taken out of it. One of the other things I'll want you to notice here quick, you know, early Ford spindles. If you look at my steering arm, I've redesigned this so that I can get some Ackermann into this car. I'm going to show you this arm, and notice that the pivot for the steering arm, which the Heim joint is bolted to, is closer to the wheel than the kingpin center line. And that's to try to get some Ackermann, and I've tried to get it as close as I could to a rotor to get some Ackermann. And what Ackermann is it causes the car, when you turn, to have differing turning radius on each wheel, so you're not scuffing the tires. I'll show you a picture of that. And basically, if you're looking for good Ackermann, I'm using a whiteboard, so we're getting high tech. The kingpin center line, and then the point of the steering arm is out farther, and what you're trying to do is get that line to line up with the center line of the rear axle, and that's what creates Ackermann. So when you turn a corner, say if you're turning this way, the radius that this wheel turns will be tighter than the radius this wheel turns, and keeps it from scrubbing one of the tires and losing road contact. Because if you're scrubbing a tire, you don't have any road contact or any traction, put it that way, with the front wheels. So I'll show you a little bit on this Falcon. It's done too. And this has Speedway Motors steering arms. And if you'll notice, they're farther inboard from the spindle center line. So the Ackermann on this one's actually backwards. So it's going to turn wrong, but it's what was on the car. I mean, this works better for rear steer stuff. But when you start running, you know, the motor where it's supposed to be, it ends up running into the corner of the oil pan, which is not good. You don't need that. Or you got to slide the motor back in the middle of the car, which is dumb. So I typically do everything front steer like this. And this one has a Corvair box on it too, as you can see. like I say, this all came on this car. The springs, all of it was done. Fortunately, it's got enough caster in it to work, but you can shim the axle to get caster. Typically, when I'm setting these things up, 10 degrees of caster minimum, 10 to 12 on a straight axle like this. And an A-arm front end race car, I'll build 6 degrees of caster in it, but these things here need 10 to 12 degrees to go straight at speed. So okay, we've looked at that. The next thing I want to talk about is scrub angle. Okay, we'll get back here in a Henry J, and you'll notice from a distance you can see where the center of the tire is, and you can also try to draw an imaginary line through the kingpin center line. And what's supposed to happen, I'll show you on my whiteboard, is that's called a scrub angle. And in theory, when Ford designed these, the scrub angle intersected with the center of the tire. And what that means, when it turns on the radius of the kingpin. Well, with all the aftermarket brakes and different offset wheels and everything, we end up with a scrub angle like this, where the two lines don't intersect at the center point of the tire, which is not great. Will the thing go? Yeah, but inherently, some of the times that will cause some death wobble. I mean, it's just inherent in some cars worse than others, but I can explain to you how to avoid some of that stuff. A deeper wheel that sets over the top of the spindle is a good idea here. There's some of those wheels out there that got a real wide offset, and something that slides back over the hub farther to try to reduce this angle here helps a lot. Some guys don't think so, but I know for a fact it helps. Okay, parallelism on steering arms. I found this to be super key. And if you'll notice on this car, that steering arm, which is the drag link basically, this rod here is going uphill to the steering box a little bit. That's because this car is not fully loaded. When this car is finished and fully loaded, I will make sure that that drag link is parallel with the tie rod, so that as it moves through its suspension travel, that steering rod travels at basically the same angle as the tie rod. So you want those to be parallel or as close as you can. And that goes the same when you're running a Corvair box and side steering. When you got the arm on the side and it's pushing forwards and backwards, that thing needs to be parallel with the ground when the car's done. That's super important. This one here, you'll notice I'm pretty close with my bolt right there to the tie rod, but when I'm done I'll have a ton of room. It'll all be okay. This one has a like I say, it's got a Vegas style box, but it's got a straight steering arm. Typically I like to use a dropped arm where I can raise the box up higher in the frame. It ends up putting the drag link in the same spot, but it just raises the steering up a little bit, and I'll show you on the Falcon when I'm talking about that. This one here, I had to drop the box down and I actually had to add a little bit more gusset to keep it from all flexing. And that bolt goes through the frame rail. The top bolt goes through the frame rail with a tube, and it's all welded together. So I have some finish welding to do on this car yet. I'm not done, but I'm close. But typically on the front, I use competition engineering three-way adjustable shocks on these things. As I've said in previous videos, there's no sense in getting carried away, but I've also built it so you can put like an adjustable front shock on it as well, like an AFGO 5-inch stroke shock will fit in the same place. So, you know, it just gives you options. Like I said before, most of these cars are built to have a good time, you know, so why spend $1,000 when you can spend $300? Just get you to the track sooner. On this car over here, it's all built about the same way. You can look this way and you can see that the drag link and the tie rod are parallel with each other. And this one has a drop steering arm, so I raised the box up on the frame rail higher, which I like this mount better. Customer supplied stuff on both cars. So, but as you can see, I had to run my steering rod or my steering shaft through the motor mount because we used a front style mount and everything else, so that got a little tricky, but we still made it work. This car's got a little bit different mount for shocks, but all in all it's the same exact shock I use on these things. As I said before, don't like those steering arms, but it's what we got. In my Chevy too, it's got the same thing on it. It drives okay. I've run into steering wobble with it once before, but that was because I bounced it down one time. I was headed for the wall, so I was in a wheelie, bounced it down, and it wasn't happy. But she drives okay. That car goes, you know, it'll go 860s. So, like I say, drag link tie rod, parallel, super important. One thing I don't like about this car is when it came, it had that spacer in there between the steering arm and that's a good way to bend steering arms. But on this car, I quite don't know how to do it without putting a third arm on it. And I may do that, just put an arm on the top so that I'm taking that spacer out of there. This thing here, I've used little aluminum cone spacers to get everything to clear. You can see how I did this car here. Works a little bit better, and my steering arms are on the top of this one. So, like I say, I may roll all that stuff around on that car and get it fixed, but I try to get everything when I'm doing this, like the drag link and everything, I try to figure out where half travel is going to be so that I'm swinging the drag link is swinging through an even radius. I'm not starting at the one end of the radius and swinging down, because when you start doing that, as I said before, make that parallel with the ground, you jack up the front end, the steering box stays still, it's going to turn the wheels one way or another. Had that happen on a friend's car. The radius rod, it was a Corvair style box, radius rod came uphill about 20 degrees. Well, you jack the front end of the car up and the wheels would turn to the left about, I think they were turning about 3 or 4 inches. So, you know, it's like you're trying to head for the guardrail, and when the thing come down and the wheels weren't pointing straight, it went into death wobble like crazy. All we did is change the steering arm on the spindle to level out that drag link, solved all the problems, and added some weight to the back of the car. But all in all, front suspension stuff, that's about what I do. Mostly everything I build, I use like the Willwood front brakes. I like them. Speedway Motors sells like a T-bucket kit that fits on these early Ford spindles with a solid rotor. I like using those. Like for drag racing, a solid steel rotor is a lot better than a cast iron rotor, because when you run a cast iron rotor and you overheat it, it can crack and fracture, where a steel rotor won't do that. It'll just warp. It'll still stop you, but they'll warp. They won't break apart, whereas a cast iron rotor will. And a lot of guys, like this Falcon here, has those Mustang 2 style rotors on them, the little rotors with the adapter and everything. I don't like these things. They're not great for drag racing, but that's what this car's got on it. And as you'll notice too, this has got a Chevy spindle on it, with those Speedway Motors conversion Chevy spindles, which it doesn't matter what you want to run, Chevy or Ford. I just know that the Ford spindle is easier to get a brake for than the Chevy spindle. The Chevy spindle, they only offer a vented rotor kit, and it's great for street rods or slower cars, but when you start going real fast in these things, cast iron rotors ain't the way to fly. So I thought I'd share this stuff with you. And the other thing that I do like about the Willwood stuff is this dual bolt pattern, 4.5 and 4 3/4 bolt circles, so you can put any wheel on the front of it you want. These things here come 4.5, and if you want to change it, you got to have them re-drilled, which is a pain in the butt and not super safe. So, but anyways, that's what's going on. The Falcon, I'm repairing a quarter panel so we can get it off. I can finish weld it and do the tin work. Like I say, the Henry J is about done. Show you a little progress here if you can see it. Interior's in it. Well, I should say interior. Steering, pedals, all that stuff's done in this car. Mounted 2 seats. Fuel cell's done. Electrical disconnect. All of it's pretty much whipped. We got to bend the shifter handle over a little bit, but This one's ready for tin work. We're gonna get that going here quick as soon as I get my 55 out of the way. I like doing tin work on the lift because I don't have to bend over and lay on my back anymore, and this thing's in the way. But I am making progress. Floors are in it. I started working on repairing the rockers. I got the top of this rocker put in. The toe boards are put in. Just working my way to the back. I got my tubs tacked together, my wheel tubs. I made a set of 18 gauge wheel tubs for this thing. Put them in, and it'll have a fuel cell in the back and everything else. I'll show you the wheel tubs real quick. They're laying over here. I haven't finished welding them yet, but when you build 18 gauge wheel tubs like this, the stones don't beat them out. They're pretty tough. A little harder to work with 18 gauge, but they don't get beat out of the car. Like this Falcon, they brought me a set of competition engineering wheel tubs. They're 22 gauge, sort of like working with thick tin foil, but that's what they got. So anyways, hopefully my front end information has helped a little bit. I wanted to share that with you guys and show you what was going on. And hopefully I can get to the point where I can answer some questions and stuff like that. But thanks for watching. I'll share more soon. See ya.